Okay, so hi all, good morning or good evening, and thank you for joining this webinar on Bring the Cloud Closer with SharePoint Server 2019. So this is brought to you by C Sharp Corner Pune chapter, and for those who don't know me, here is some information about me. Myself, Nandadeep Nathan, and mostly I'm working on SharePoint, .NET, and MS Azure. And here are some social handlers to get connected with me. Okay, so the agenda for today is we will firstly look into SharePoint 2019 user experience, then how we can enable the hybrid experience for getting connected with SharePoint Server 2019 and SharePoint Online, and then we will see how we can integrate MSFlow, PowerApps, and even Power BI reporting. And then the last topic of discussion will be how we can configure the cloud hybrid search so that we will be able to search the content from SharePoint on premises to SharePoint online. Okay, so before that, some overview of SharePoint Server 2019. So SharePoint 2019 is now generally available, and it is the latest on-premises version of SharePoint. So SharePoint 2019 is more focused on team collaboration, consistent user experience across various devices, bringing in cloud features to the on-premises scenario. So SharePoint 2019 is built on the same core platform as of SharePoint Server 2016. However, it brings in new modern experiences to the users. So it also unlocks access to some features which are previously available only for cloud customers. And this fades the line between on-premises and cloud experiences, which facilitate a smoother transition to the cloud. So SharePoint 2019 is kind of a middle ground for customers who are looking for an on-premises solution that captures many of the benefits of SharePoint Online while giving customers the control and compliance of staying on-premises. So SharePoint 2019 in that sense really a potential game changer for organizations who are requiring hybrid deployments. So the marketing pitch from Microsoft for SharePoint 2019 is like it brings the cloud closer to you, and it brings you closer to the cloud because you can access most of the cloud features very easily from SharePoint Server 2019. So then let's look at the general user experience of SharePoint Server 2019. So as I said, SharePoint Server 2019 is built on the foundational release of SharePoint Server 2016. So this means that there are no huge architectural changes in SharePoint 2019 from its predecessor version SharePoint 2016. However, from the end user perspective, the experience has been changed a lot. SharePoint 2019 has begun updated new modern experiences, and this modern experience is not something new to the cloud or SharePoint Online users, but the same modern experience can be experienced in SharePoint on premises with SharePoint 2019. So this user experience starts right from creation of the site to the browsing and managing the content. So the modern user experience is responsive, fascinating, and flexible and easy to use. So if you are already using SharePoint Online version, then you might observe that SharePoint 2019 user experience is modern. But I will say it is not in all the sense as in SharePoint Online. So several features of SharePoint 2019 are modern, but yet not all features are modern compared to SharePoint Online. So this is how the out-of-box experience of site creation looks like in SharePoint Server 2019. So you can see that we can create a modern SharePoint site as well as the modern classic SharePoint site at the same time. So probably I will switch to my VM, which is Azure VM hosting SharePoint Server 2019. So whenever I go to creation of a new site collection, we can see that we have options here like creating a team site. This will create a modern team site, and then we can even create a classic team site from here. And under publishing, even we can create a modern communication site. So SharePoint 2019 offers us both the flexibilities, like we can either create a modern sites, or even we can go ahead with the traditional classic SharePoint sites. So more about modern team sites. So in general, modern team site looks like this one. This is the SharePoint Server 2019 modern site, and which is looking exactly like which is in SharePoint Online. So, but the newer features from the on-premises user perspective is that this modern team site helps to create news, show all the news at one place, and display the site activities. So, modern team sites are optimized for mobile experience, and it supports faster provisioning than classic team sites. So, maybe it takes up to 2 to 3 seconds to provision a modern team site. And coming to the modern list and library experiences, so the list and libraries, they have been optimized for the user experience. The ribbons, they are now replaced with the command bars itself, like here you can see. And then we have some noticeable enhancements, like the command bar supports copying and moving of the files. Even the files can be pinned at the top. Then again, we have a new filtering experience, and then view can be changed inline without going to the list settings page explicitly, and columns can be rearranged, grouped, and filtered inline. Again, we can have a formatting to the column that can be applied inline, and even columns can be added to the list directly, and even we can add the files as a link. So the old features like export to Excel, drag and drop of the files, syncing the document library, managing the alerts. So they continue the same way, but we have some modern experience for libraries and list by which we can simplify our operations with these list and libraries. Then we have modern pages. So in short, modern page looks something like this, which is again very much similar to what we have in SharePoint Online. We have inline editing experience, which doesn't post back and give us the flexibility to add the web parts directly from here. So these modern pages are faster and responsive, and these pages are less structured. So the edit experience help to modify the section layout. We can edit the existing sections and add the web parts to the page without any server pushback. So modern page does not have any static layout as that was with classic page. And it has a flexible layout, and it can be changed at any time. So we can probably add some more sections here by editing these sections. We can add more sections, we can rearrange the sections as per our requirement. And then this modern pages supports modern web parts like the client side web parts. So for security and governance reasons, modern web parts does not allow adding any JavaScript code to the pages directly. What that means in short, modern web parts does not include content editor web parts or script editor web parts. So it is important to note that classic web parts are not supported or not available to be added onto the modern pages. So this modern SharePoint provides a wide range of first party web parts. Probably maybe I can show you. So these first party web parts are something like text, quick chart, embed, file viewer, events, news, and many more. And for example, if you want to create our own web part, then even it is possible to create an SPFX web part in SharePoint 2019. So this gives us more flexibility as we already experiencing in SharePoint Online. Again, it gives us inline search experience. So the search experience by SharePoint 2019 is a kind of a modern search experience, and we can see the result as we type the search text. So then coming to the topic of the discussion today, like how we can enable the hybrid experience, which can bring together best of both the platforms, SharePoint Server 2019 and SharePoint Online. So then the hybrid experience, that means like we are SharePoint, we are using SharePoint Server 2019. At the same time, we are experiencing the features from SharePoint Online, which are the latest features available. So SharePoint on-premises and SharePoint Online environment presents their own advantages and features to the users. SharePoint Online environment offers the services to handle business needs. On the other hand, SharePoint on-premises environment offers flexibility and more configuration options. So for organizations who are gradually moving towards the cloud, SharePoint Server Hybrid provides a staged migration path so that they can plan their activities one by one to be compliant to the cloud, and it helps to extend the workloads to SharePoint Online. So SharePoint Server Hybrid helps to bring together best of SharePoint on-premises and SharePoint Online. That means the cloud features. Then this SharePoint Server Hybrid environment enables trusted communication between SharePoint on-premises and SharePoint Online, and which integrates the functionality and access between features and services of both the environments. So that means, in a short, we have a SharePoint Online environment, we have on-premises environment, and then we are bringing best of both these environments, and we call it as a hybrid. So let's see like how we can enable this experience. So whenever you open SharePoint Server 2019 Central Admin, you will notice a green bar, something like this, which will prompt you to enable the hybrid experience. And once you click that green bar or a link on that green bar, it will download an exe called as hybrid spsetup.exe, and which will help your on-premises SharePoint server farm to connect with your Office 365 tenant. And in that, you can select which are the features you need so that you can use those as a hybrid experience. So probably we can see it in a demo. So I already have downloaded that exe. So I can just double click it. We can run this, and this configuration wizard will help us to get connected our on-premises environment with SharePoint Online. So we'll click next onto this wizard. So here we need to provide the credentials for both SharePoint Server 2019 on-premises, and then we need to provide the global administrator credentials for Office 365. So let me type in my credentials here. And once we enter those credentials, just click on validate credentials so that it will validate those credentials against Office 365 and SharePoint Server 2019. So the credentials are validated. We can click next now, and in this next window, it will check for all the prerequisites so that it will check that whether our SharePoint Server 2019 can connect to SharePoint Online. So at the moment, we have all checked passed so that our farm can connect to Office 365. So this does some basic checking, like whether the server farm exists and the account that we have been using, is it a farm administrator? And again, the other things like can we connect to SharePoint Online and the other things. And then we can click next and then from here we can select the features which we need in the hybrid environment. So by default we have OneDrive, hybrid sites, business to business sites, hybrid app launcher, but optionally we can even configure to use self-service site creation, taxonomy and content types, and even the hybrid search. So as of now we will just go ahead with this out of box available features, and then later on in this webinar we will also discuss about how we can enable the hybrid search on the environment. So from here, at least we covered like how we can enable this hybrid experience. Then probably we can cover what is meant by hybrid app launcher. So once we have done this configuration and we have connected our SharePoint Server 2019 to SharePoint Online, we can anytime go back to our SharePoint Server 2019 site. So this is my SharePoint Server 2019 site, and as we click this app launcher, we have two options here. One is OneDrive, and then we have SharePoint. So as I click on this OneDrive, you will notice that it is redirecting us to our Office 365 tenant. So that means we now have a hybrid feature enabled by which we can connect from our SharePoint Server 2019 on-premises to the cloud. Again, if I click the app launcher and click SharePoint, so from here we are now able to connect to Office 365 SharePoint site right from our SharePoint Server 2019 on-premises. So now that we have enabled the basic hybrid experience, now that we will see how we can use the other benefits of getting to the cloud. So the first and foremost is MSFlow integration. So it is one of the major cloud features that has been used, and it helps to automate the task by connecting to various systems. So MSFlow gives us more flexibility to go beyond creating our traditional SharePoint centric workflows and connecting to the various other services. So this MS Flow widens the opportunity for SharePoint users to automate their processes. So what is MS Flow then? So MS Flow is kind of an app which is part of Office 365 suite, and it helps to design and automate the business processes and tasks by creating workflows based on certain triggers and actions. So it helps to connect to various services as like this. So that includes SharePoint, Office 365, Outlook, OneDrive, Twitter, Dropbox, Outlook.com, Dynamics 365, Yammer, Google Calendar, Facebook, Instagram, and many more. So this MS Flow can help us to connect to various services, and from there we can automate the business processes. But to do all these things, we need something called as a data gateway. So or also it is called as on-premises data gateway. So it is kind of a bridge for secure data transfer between on-premises data and Microsoft Flow. Also, it helps us for connecting to the Power App services. So in that sense, on-premises data gateway is very much useful, and we can download and install it directly from this link. So in my system, I already have downloaded and installed it. So it is a simple installation. It doesn't ask for any complex configuration as such. And once you have downloaded and installed this on-premises data gateway, you will be able to connect to Logic Apps and Azure Analytics services, Power Apps, Microsoft Flow, and Power BI. So then there are few considerations for installing this gateway, so that we should not install this gateway on a domain controller where our AD is hosted, and this gateway should be always visible. So for that reason, we should not install it on a machine that can be turned off after some time. And this machine which is hosting that gateway should always be connected to the internet so that it can handle all the incoming requests. And the gateway performance might not be good over a wireless network. So whenever we are installing this on-premises gateway, we need to choose the server wisely and take into consideration all these factors. So then we will see that how we can configure the MS Flow so that we can use it in line with SharePoint Online and SharePoint Server 2019. So for that, one moment. Let me adjust this. Okay. So I already have logged into this MS Flow. So this can be accessed by https://flow.microsoft.com. And once you are here, you can log in. I am already logged in here. So once we are here, we can click this gear icon and click to the connections. So here we can define the connections by which we can connect to various systems. So here probably we will create a new connection. We will select SharePoint, but at the same time you can see you can connect to various systems as defined here. But for this demo, we will connect to SharePoint. And once we connect to the SharePoint, we again have a couple of more options, like should we connect to Office 365 or SharePoint Online, or should we connect to on-premises data gateway. So since I have this data gateway installed on this machine, I'm getting this particular option. And from here we can select the authentication type. We have only Windows authentication type available here. We can just give the username and password, and it will help us to connect to this data gateway. This is the name of my on-premises data gateway which is installed. And once we do it, we will be able to connect to our SharePoint farm to the Office 365 for a secure data connection. So I have already joined my farm to SharePoint Online. So I will cancel this. So I will go to my flows where I already have created one flow. So I have created one flow here. Probably we can go to it. So in this flow, what I am doing is, if I go back to my SharePoint site, so I have one list created as employee, which is a very simple list. It just has title, location, date of joining, only these three fields. So if I click new, we can see those fields in detail. Okay, so this is very simple list, and what we are going to do is using this MSFlow, we are trying to using this MSFlow, we are trying to have build a scenario that whenever a new item is created in this employees list, we are going to send one email to our Office 365. So for that reason, I will open up this. So here we can specify the site address, which is which is my SharePoint Server 2019 URL, and from there we can select the list. So this is the employee list which we have selected, and from there we are just sending out an email to my Office 365 subscription with the subject that employee update for the title of the employee which we have entered, and then some body message. And once it is done, we can save this workflow so that it is available on that list to run. So what now we will do is, let me check if I have my SharePoint site open. Okay, so I will probably just duplicate this tab so that we can open up Outlook. Okay, so the Outlook is here. This was one demo email which I sent earlier. I will delete this so that we can observe the new emails. So here I will click a new employee so that we can create a new employee. Here I will type my name, select the location as Pune, and then date of joining is probably today. That's fine. I will click save. So once we do this, let's go back to our flow again, and we will refresh this. So we will see that the flow should trigger now. Okay, so now we can see that just 1 second ago the flow has run and it is successful. So that means we should be able to get an email alert here. Okay, so the email is here that we have created this employee item in a SharePoint 2019. So that means we have connected an event which is happening on our SharePoint Server 2019, and we are triggering some information to Office 365, and this MSFlow is in the cloud, so that we are connecting our data securely with the cloud and exchanging the information. All right. So the next topic of discussion is how we can integrate the Power Apps. So the PowerApps integration is again one of the feature that brings the cloud experience closer to the on-premises. So PowerApps helps to design custom apps for business needs by connecting to various sources or data platforms. So PowerApps helps to build custom apps without writing any code. So it has got responsive design, and it can work well with the browser and mobile devices. So basically there are two types of Power Apps. First one is Canvas app. So Canvas app gives us the flexibility to arrange the user experience and interface the way we want to configure it. So we can start creating Canvas app from a blank canvas, or from a data, or from a sample, or using common data service sources. And then the second type of app what we can create is model driven apps. So this can be created from PowerApps site, and it helps to rapidly develop forms. Then we can apply the business rules there and set the processes to the flows by using a common data service. So these apps can be accessed from https web.powerapps.com. So let's see like how we can create a Power Apps and then integrate that Power Apps with the Office 365. So let me come back here. I will close this flow and let me refresh this. So you can come to this site by web.powerapps.com, and then once you log in you will able to see a page something like this. So we are going to build one canvas power app which can help us to connect the data from SharePoint server to Office 365. So for that reason we will start with data. So we are just creating one canvas app, so let's click create. So this will give us some options like how we want to start creating our data. So since we want to create this data from SharePoint, we are creating this phone layout which is for SharePoint. And then from here we can probably create a new connection and then select SharePoint. But I already have created connection to my SharePoint server 2019, so probably I can use that connection itself. Okay. Okay, let me just restart because I just lost that screen. One moment. So we'll start from the data, we'll click create, and then we already have the connection existing to SharePoint server 2019. Just click the phone layout for SharePoint, and we can connect to our SharePoint site which is in SharePoint server 2019. So this is our site, portal.contoso.com. So I will type that site address here, click go, so that we can connect to our SharePoint site. So this gives us the list of all lists which are available in SharePoint server 2019. So we will again connect to the employee list onto which we already have created one flow, and we can click create from this right hand bottom corner. So we are now connected to this employee list. Okay, so this will help us to build a canvas app around this employee list. So it might take a few moments, so we will wait till the time. Okay, so we'll skip this. And okay, so now that we have the app from here, so what we can do is we can probably go to the edit screen of this. So this is the edit screen, and then here probably we can add some more controls. So here I can add probably a label. So let me take the label somewhere down here, and to this label we will say canvas app from PowerApps. So we're not going to do anything fancy, but just that we will add one text here. But you can probably add some other controls like label, button, and few more controls. And then we are simply going to go to file and then save, and then we will save this to the cloud. So for that we will give one name to our app. Probably we'll call it as employee app, and we'll click save. So it is saving our canvas power app. Okay. Okay, so the app is now saved, and we can click this share this app so that it can be shared all across. Okay. So then from here we can probably have some more defined way for this app, like who are the administrator and even who can access and all those things. But for the simplicity reason, I'm not going to go into those complex things. We will just simply take this web link which we can use for our Power App. So then the next thing what I'm going to do is I will open up one SharePoint online site. So let me refresh this, and then from here we will go to one page which I already have created here. Okay, and let's edit this page. So on this page we will use that web URL in a app part called as Power App Web Part. So let me expand this, and we will find out the Power App Web Part or probably I will directly type that in the search box. Okay, so here we have a PowerApps preview web part available. So let's select this web part, add it to our site, and here we can define the link that we can add on our SharePoint Online site. Okay, so we have it here. Let me close and publish this page. So now that we have our Power App running on our SharePoint Online site, we already see one item which we created. Probably I will click create a new item, and I will call this as SPO SharePoint Online, and then location we will select maybe Mumbai. So you can notice that it is pulling this entire data from our SharePoint 2019 site, which is here. So this is kind of a same experience which we have in SharePoint Server 2019. Again, if I click new here, these are the all fields which are being populated in the Power App. So let me again go back to the Power App which we have hosted on SharePoint Online site, and date of joining probably could be this, and you can see our message which we added as the custom message here. So that's it. We will check this submit item link so that it will create a new item in a SharePoint 2019 site. So now that we can see that we have two items here, let's go back to our SharePoint Server 2019 and try to see if we can see that item. So now you can see that we have this item created here. So that item was created from an Power App which is hosted in SharePoint Server, SharePoint Online. And again, I guess this flow should trigger us one more email. So now that we have everything defined in a cloud, but at the backend it is using SharePoint Server 2019. Okay, so that is the beauty of having an hybrid kind of an environment. Okay, so now let's go to the next thing, which is Power BI reporting. So Power BI means for the Power BI again, SharePoint Server 2019 supports this Power BI reporting, which is one of the rich cloud feature, which is made available in on-premises. No, it doesn't come. It is not directly available here. For that reason, we need to install data gateways, which help us to create a secure connection between on-premises and online. So that option is not available here as we have it available in SharePoint Online. So if I go to some list in SharePoint Online, one moment, yeah, maybe let me open up this one. Correct. So right. So here we have Flow, here we have Power Apps, which we can directly create from here, but we don't have that option directly available here. So for that reason, we need to install the on-premises data gateway. So that can help us to securely transfer the data between on-premises and this Flow and Power App services. So we don't have that option here directly, but all those Power Apps and Power BI and even flows, they are hosted in cloud, but they are connecting to our SharePoint Server 2019 on premises. Okay, all right. In that case, then we might have to create a list extension using SPFX. So that can help us how we can modify the column layout itself. I think we have one option called as a column formatter. So using column formatter, we can define the JSON, but it can just help us to define how the look and feel of that particular column should be. We cannot have those kind of customizations like this field should be visible to certain group of people, but it will just help us for how we want to define that particular data. For example, if it is a percentage and we want to show it in a bar graph kind of a thing, so in that case those field customizers can be helpful. But if you want to go into more details, and then in that case probably we'll have to go ahead with the SPFX extensions, or if we have licenses, then this Power Apps. So this will help us for without coding efforts. All right. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So coming to the next point of discussion, Power BI reporting. So this Power BI helps to turn the unrelated sources of data which is in SharePoint into an interactive insights. So Power BI allows us to connect to various data sources and create interactive reports. So Power BI consists of Windows desktop application called as Power BI Desktop, as well as it is available as an online SaaS service, software as a service, which is called as Power BI service. So that particular service can be easily accessed from powerbi.microsoft.com. So again, since this is since this is kind of we are exposing our on-premises data to SharePoint Online, we again need to use this on-premises data gateway. So so again with this data gateway, we can connect our data from SharePoint Server 2019 to SharePoint Online. So just in short that we can use this Power BI Desktop to create all those data sources, and then we can connect our SharePoint list or any of the data in SharePoint Server 2019 and create meaningful reports out of it. So so this on-premises data gateway, it will help us to connect or help us to connect our on-premises data sources without any need to move that data to somewhere else, and it can help us to provide flexibility to query the larger data sets. So we will have to install those gateways, and once it is configured, we can make use of it to connect to on-premises data sources. So probably we can see it in a practical how we can create a Power BI reports and host it on SharePoint Server 2019. Okay, so probably, oh sorry, let me close out the windows which we have already demoed. So I will close this Power Apps so that we are only remained with the Power BI. So this is the Power BI SaaS version. So we can navigate to web.powerapps.com, and it can land us to sorry, web.powerbi.microsoft.com, and it can land us to this particular page. So here I can click sign in and sign in with the credentials of my Office 365 tenant, which is here. Okay, and then from this ribbon, from this top right hand corner, we can click download button, and we can click this data gateway. So sorry, so this will help us to download that gateway and install it on our SharePoint Server 2019. So it is again a straightforward installation, doesn't ask for any complex configurations to be done. So this is the first step, that we should download this data gateway, and then it will help us to connect our on-premises data to the other sources. And then we need to create a gateway. So for that, we can go to settings and click manage gateways, and from here we can create our gateway which is connecting our SharePoint Server 2019 on premises. So since I already have created one, we can see it here. So which is my SharePoint 2019 on premises, and we can see that connection is successful with my Windows credential. So that means I already have connected my data so that I can expose it to other meaningful data. So the next thing is that we need to create a data source. So for creating a data source, we need to switch to a desktop version of this Power BI. So this is the desktop version of Power BI, and to connect to SharePoint Server 2019 data, we can click Get Data and then More. And from here, we can connect to various data sources. There are many, but I will just click, type in SharePoint here so that we can see it easily. Okay. So from here we can probably connect to a SharePoint folder, SharePoint online list, or just plain SharePoint list. So since we want to connect to SharePoint Server 2019 on premises, we have selected this option of SharePoint list. Then click connect to that particular list. And here we'll have to type our SharePoint site URL, so which is http portal.contoso.com. Okay, so this is our SharePoint 2019 on-premises site URL. I will click OK so that we can get connected to that site. And here we have various lists, but I already have configured one list to be used for this particular reporting, so which is the inventory. So it has inventory of vehicles based on their make and type of that vehicle, and when it was manufactured, and what is the price of that vehicle, and at which location that vehicle is. So this is simple data. So we'll click load to load that particular data. Okay, it might take some time because it is loading all those site columns and the data from there. So from here we can probably select location, make, then probably price, title, and year. So now that we can see that we are getting all this data from SharePoint Server 2019. Okay, probably okay. One moment. Probably I will try to track it here. Okay, or yeah, I can show it on SharePoint Server 2019 site also. So here we have a list called as inventory, which is an inventory of all the vehicles. So simple that we have title of that vehicle, make, type of that particular car, year, location, and price. Okay, so coming back to Power BI Desktop, so we have this data with us. Now that we will play around this data, so I will again select this location, make, price, title, and year, so that we can select a data from here, and it will get rendered here as an meaningful information. So for that I will just click this lined and stacked column chart, so that we can create some meaningful information out of it. I don't know how much informative that will be, but this is just an attempt to do it. So on this shared axis we have this location, year, probably I will take it away, price, because I want that price should be somewhere on the column values, so I will probably drag it here. And then I want that title should be on the lines. So okay, I will type it here. Okay, and then probably I can add make here. Sorry. Okay, so that we have some data here. Okay, maybe I can type it here so that okay, all right. Okay, so at least we have some data here. It's not that much meaningful, but we have like how the prices of vehicles are varying based on the city, and as we select location, we can see that same thing is highlighted over here. Okay, so this is some kind of Power BI report, not that much meaningful, but okay, at least we have something. So now that we want to publish this particular report, so that we can start using it on a SharePoint Server 2019. So for that reason, I will click File and Publish, and publish this Power BI report. Okay, do you want to save these changes? Okay, yes, but it is not showing me how I can save. Okay, so here probably I can save this. So I will say demo. So this will be saved as an PBIX Power BI reporting file. Okay, so it is saved now. And then from here we can open again the Power BI tool, since it is published. So sorry, Power BI SAS tool, and then we can go to my workspaces, and under the reports, this should be available. So now that we have this inventory report available here, so if you want to see that report, we can click and the report is here. So now that we want that we should use this report in a SharePoint site. So for that I will okay one moment, probably I can again go back here, click file. Oh, okay, it was still publishing, it was demo, not inventory. Okay, so got it. So now that we should again have one more report here called as demo, which is the report which we just created. So this was the report what we created just now. So from here, if you want, we can even edit this report, make further changes. So I will again come back here, and then I will again click on publish. Sorry, it should not be from here. One moment. I'm just finding out how we can publish it to the reports. Okay. Okay, so we have, okay, so from here we can now publish this particular report to the web. So for that we can go to this file and publish to the web, so that we can get one URL by which we can access this all across. So we will click publish. So this will create one link by which we can refer to this Power BI report, as well as if you want to paste this as an HTML in your website, we can use this iframe kind of code. So now that we have this Power BI report with us, and then again we can go back to our SharePoint on-premises site. Probably we can create one page here, and we'll try to use that Power BI report here. So for that I will click this link. One moment, did I copy this? Sorry. Okay, so I have this link here. I will go back here, and then here we should have something for Power BI. Okay, oh sorry, we should go to the SharePoint online site, and here we should have something for Power BI. So let me probably create one page here. And here we can add the Power BI report. So we can add it as a Power BI report, or even we can add it as an embed report. So we can click add report and add it from here, or the second easiest option will be something like we have that embed code with us. So I can go back here, copy that embed code, and again come back here, add the web part, and here we have an embed. So in the embed we can directly type that iframe code, so that we will be able to see the Power BI report here. Okay, yeah, it is here, and I will publish it. Okay, name, we don't have a name for this page, so let me give one name. Probably we will call it as Power BI report, and publish. So now that we have our Power BI report, which is from our SharePoint server 2019, and which is being rendered here. So as we select a particular type of car, the same section is get highlighted here. So that means it is working here. So the same thing even can be used in SharePoint server 2019 as well. So here also we can have one embed, and in the embed we can paste the same iframe code, and once we save this we should be able to see the report again. Maybe let me type here. So we can see that we can use this Power BI report in both the environments. So means here that it is the same Power BI report which was in SharePoint Server 2019, and we are showing the data in SharePoint Server 2019 itself. But this Power BI report is kind of an online activity, and we are showing it here. But the beauty of this is we are able to see that or show that data which was in SharePoint Server 2019 to SharePoint Online. Okay. So yeah, so that was all for Power BI reporting. So the next thing is for the cloud hybrid search. So this cloud hybrid search enables users to search for the content from SharePoint on-premises in the SharePoint Online. So this provides users a seamless search experience with content being searched from on-premises and online at one place. So the overview for cloud hybrid search is that the content is crawled from SharePoint 2019 on-premises server, and the index is maintained at the SharePoint Online. So we can see that we have a SharePoint server on-premises here, the content is here, and then in the SharePoint server on-premises 2019 itself, we are creating one search service application called as Cloud Search Service Application, and from that and there the data is being crawled, and the index being maintained at Office 365. So here we can maintain both the content indexed, which is representing on-premise content as well as Office 365 content. So whenever the content is being searched from Office 365, it goes to that database, and even we will be able to see the content which is in on-premises. So one thing is that per SharePoint Server 2019, we can have only one search cloud service application. We cannot have multiple cloud search service application created in a SharePoint Server 2019. So for example, if you want to use same kind of a server farm with multiple Office 365 tenant, it is possible, but we will have to have only one service application here. So if you are thinking of data integrity and data security, in that case it can be implemented at Office 365 level only, because we have only one cloud search service application exists in SharePoint Server 2019. So in short, that the content is crawled from SharePoint 2019 on-premises server, and the index is maintained at SharePoint Online. So again, for that we have some prerequisites in order to get or set up this cloud hybrid search. So first thing is that we should have Office 365 subscription. So it can be any subscription, but we should at least have Office 365 subscription. And the next thing is that we should have our public domain. So Office 365 also supports creating a public domain from a vendors like godaddy.com, or if you want, you can purchase domain from any of the third-party vendor and add that as a domain to your Office 365. And then we can register this public domain with Office 365. So these are the prerequisites which are required in order to set up the cloud hybrid search. So by default, SharePoint Online supports domains something like on Microsoft.com. So with those on Microsoft.com accounts, we won't be able to set up this cloud hybrid search. So if you don't have domains, probably you can get some domain from GoDaddy or some third-party vendor. So the next thing is that once we have the domain, then we need to set up the user profile name suffixes to the local AD. So for that, probably I will go to my SharePoint 2019 on-premises server. So I have opened this server manager. We can go to tools and to this domains and trust. So here we have our domain created contoso.com. So we can go to the properties of this, and here we need to add the UPN suffixes, that means user profile name. So since I have my custom domain set up as sharepointrocks.com, we can add that or we will have to add that UPN suffix here, so that we can kind of migrate all the users to this particular UPN suffix, and from there they will be able to access the content from SharePoint on premises to SharePoint online. So this is the first step to add the UPN suffix. So you can just type any domain here, and then you can just click add, and it will get added here. So for this demo we have a custom domain called as sharepointrocks.com here, so which is the first step. And then the second thing is that we need to update all the UPNs for the users. So for all the users which we have in our on-premises environment, we need to map all those users to this our new UPN which we just have subscribed with our SharePoint Server 2019. So for that we can again go back to SharePoint 2019 and then tools and users and computers. So if you have your AD set up differently, then then you'll have to do it on that AD. So probably I can search for my user here, okay, which is here, and click to the properties of my user. And from here we can go to account, and from here we can set all those UPNs. So since my SharePoint Server 2019 domain was Contoso, my username in SharePoint Server 2019 is something like contoso/username, and since that domain name is Contoso, with that domain I got the email ID to my office, to my SharePoint 2019 user as username@contoso.com, which is the default domain account email. But now that I have to map my UPN instead of contoso.com to sharepointrocks.com, which is our custom public domain. And then once it is done, we have mapped all our on-premises user as like in our Office 365 users. So for that we will have to, if you have a limited number of users, you can do it manually by going to the properties, then to the account of that particular user and selecting that your public custom domain. But if you have multiple users like that, there are PowerShells available from Microsoft which you can run on your interactive users in the AD, and it will map your UPN to that particular accounts. So it can search through all the active users in the AD, and it can map the UPN to all those user accounts. Then the third thing is that from the Azure AD we need to connect to our on-premises accounts or AD to the Office 365 AD. So for that, in the Azure Active Directory we can go to this Azure AD Connect, and from there we can download one exe which will help us to connect our Azure Active AD users to the Office 365 users. So I already have downloaded it here, but I cannot again run it because I already have connected those AD users. So this will help us to create that connection, and then again it will help us to synchronize all the users. So for example, for the first time it will synchronize all the active users from our Azure Active Directory to the Office 365 Office 365 AD. But just in case if we have some updates happening at our Azure AD, then it can be picked up at the next incremental updates. So for that, it is again an important step that we should connect our Azure Active Directory to the Office 365 Active Directory. Then the next thing is that once we have those sync done, then all the users which are in SharePoint Server 2019 Active Directory, they now should get copied to the Office 365 users or Active Directory. So for that, maybe I will open it here. Okay, and I will go to the Office 365 admin centers. Let me refresh. So here we have all the list of active users. So okay, so all these users, they are my Azure Active Directory users, and now that they have been synced to the Office 365 AD. So if I can open all those users side by side here, we should be able to compare those. One moment. Okay, so now you can see all of those users like sp underscore admin, sp underscore crawl, sp underscore farm, all the users which I mapped here. So all those users have been copied to the Office 365 AD. So the next thing is that all these users are unlicensed. So if you want that these users should also access your on-premises, online data, in that case you can select these particular users and assign them the licenses. So if you want, you can edit these product licenses and you can assign the licenses to them. So at the moment I don't have any extra licenses, but you can at least give them some free MSFlow licenses, free Power BI licenses. But for entire Office 365 tenant, you have to have some active licenses, and then set them the location. So if you want that all the users from your on-premises, they should have full functionality access to Office 365. Then in that case, you will have to give them the licenses. So that is the next part. And then next thing is that we should configure the cloud hybrid search. So in that case, as I said, we can create only one cloud search service application in SharePoint Server 2019. So if I again go back to SharePoint Server 2019 and open the, one moment, yeah, it's a bit slow. Again, if I open up this hybrid configuration wizard, here we can select this search service, hybrid search, and here we can define all the properties for that particular hybrid search parameters. So here, since the name of my search on-premises server is SP2019, it is specified here. And for example, if you are planning for high available search topology, that means if something goes down at one server, then the other server should pick up the entire search service load. In that case, you can specify that second server here. Otherwise, you can keep it blank. The next thing is that we need to specify the SQL Server database, which can again we can place it here, and then the name of the SP2019 Cloud Search Service application, and you can click OK, and it will create a new Cloud Search Service application for you. The second option is that we can create this and using the PowerShell which are available directly from Microsoft Download Center. So we have one PowerShell available here called as create cloud ssa.ps1. So the name itself suggests that it creates the cloud search service application. And as I said, there can be only one cloud service application in your SharePoint Server 2019 farm. And the second thing is once we have that service application ready, we need to onboard it as a cloud hybrid search service application. So for that, we can use this PowerShell, and using this script, we can onboard SharePoint Online tenant and SharePoint Server Cloud search service application to the cloud hybrid search. So then which one to use is up to our choice, but only thing is this will create all the search service web apps with the user by which we are running this particular configurations. But in case we are using this PowerShells, we have better control, like we can define what should be the name of our search service application database, who should be our app pool owner, and all those things. Here it will take on its own, like server name underscore cloud SSA, and the name of the user by which we are configuring this or running this hybrid configuration wizard. That user will be added as the app pool account for that service. So if you want more control, we can anytime go ahead with this search service application PowerShells. Okay, so then next thing, once we have these search service applications ready, probably before that I can show you those search service applications itself. So let me close out these windows. and go back to the central admin. So, yeah. Mhm. Correct. Yeah, miss, any of the application server is okay, just that we should not install it on Azure Active Directory. So for that, probably I can go to few slides back. Yeah. So for this gateway, these are the considerations that we will have to do. Like we should not install it on a domain controller. That particular server should be always available. That should not be turned off, and that gateway should always be connected to the internet so that it can accept all the incoming requests. And then, if possible, that gateway should not be over a wireless network. So if we just consider these things for a gateway installation, then also it is fine. So in that case, we can even install on web front-end server, not an issue. But just that we should not install it on a domain controller. Yeah, correct, correct. Yeah, right. Correct. Because here we are kind of trying to explore the hybrid features. So for that reasons, if you want to get benefits of hybrid, we should have the internet connectivity. Otherwise, we won't be able to connect to Office 365 and get the benefits out of it. So for that reason, we should have at least working internet connection on which this gateway is installed. Yeah, it can be. It can be. Correct. Right. Just that from that server, we should be able to connect to Office 365 as well as to the on-premises server. Even in that case, that should work. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you. So again, coming back to the search. Okay. So yeah. So I was about to show the search service application. Okay. Maybe I can open this window. Let me refresh. Okay. So then let's go to the manage service applications, and here we have our hybrid search service application created called as search service application hybrid. So which we can have only one instance in our entire SharePoint farm. So this is the search service application which is performing the hybrid role. So this so the next thing, once we run this installation or run this PowerShell command, next thing to verify that we have that cloud search service application created, which is here. So this instance should have been created, and just make sure that all of the components on this search service applications are running, like crawl component, content processing, analytics, query, and index partition. So they all should be running in order to create an index or crawl the data in SharePoint Server 2019. So first thing is that we need to verify that, and the next thing is that we should create a cloud content source. So that means from where we want to crawl to SharePoint 2019 content, and then that particular crawling or that particular index can be then copied to Office 365. So for that, I will go to the content sources just to show that we have one content source here called as hybrid. If I edit it, it is only crawling my one web application called as portal.contoso.com. So we should have, or here we can create as many number of content sources as we want, but we should at least have one content source created here. And once we create it, we should run the full crawl so that it will create all those crawl content and index component. Yeah, so the next thing is we should run the full crawl, and once it is done, then almost we are ready that we have all our users in in Office 365, and again we have all our data crawled from SharePoint Server 2019. In that case, we can switch back to SharePoint online site and just search for this is external content equals 1 or equals true, so that it will give us all the external content to Office 365, which is our SharePoint Server 2019 content. So for that reason, I will go back to SharePoint Server. So this is the SharePoint online site for this particular user. Let me show that user to you. So this is the SharePoint online site for this SP admin user, and here I will just search for is external content :1 and hit enter. So this will list out all the content which is external to Office 365 or SharePoint Online, and which is our SharePoint Server 2019 content. So here we have the hybrid hybrid SharePoint search experience. So that means we are making a search on our SharePoint Online site, but in turn it is getting the data from SharePoint Server 2019, and it is happening from the index component which is or index data which is available at Office 365 level. So if I open up this is definitely our modern page which is available at SharePoint Server 2019. So by this way we can or we should be able to define our hybrid experience for cloud search. So yeah, so I guess that was all for the tonight we have, and then there are few resources available. So for example, if you don't have SharePoint Server 2019 yet, then you can get it downloaded from here. Then there are very much new and improved features in SharePoint Server 2019 that can be read out from here. And for example, if you want to compare the SharePoint Server 2019 with its previous predecessor, which is SharePoint Server 2019, so all of those are here. And then from here you can create the hybrid search experience, and it can be run. Then even there are few more scenarios which you can develop, like you can also define the hybrid taxonomy and content types. So as we know, like managed metadata is one of the useful service application in SharePoint, and primarily it supports setting up taxonomy for representing the hierarchical business information, and it also supports setting up content type hub, which is kind of a centralized repository for all content types across the SharePoint sites. So we can also create kind of a hybrid taxonomy and hybrid content types. So here we have one option available for that. So from that we will be able to connect or get our Office 365 taxonomy and content types to SharePoint on premises. So maybe I can show that option to you quickly. So let me connect to my SharePoint online site. So let us validate the credentials. Okay, next. Okay. So from here we can also select this hybrid taxonomy and content types, and here we can define the SharePoint 2019 URL, the local term store to which we want to copy all those terms, and those remote group names, that means the groups which are available in Office 365, and even the name of the content type which we want to replicate from Office 365 to SharePoint on premises. I can show you that because we are not going to go into demo of this due to limited time, but I can quickly show how it is done. So we will go to the manage metadata service application in on premises. Okay, so here we have this Office 365 taxonomy, and that is entirely copied using this cloud hybrid feature. So this taxonomy is available here. Sorry. If I open up this Office 365, let me close out all the other tabs. All right. So if I go to term store here, so here we have this Office 365 taxonomy and this term group created and term sets created here. So for example, if I just add one group, one term here, maybe I will just call it as demo. So we have this one demo term created here, and since I have synchronized this taxonomy with the with the SharePoint server, we can anytime go to the timer jobs here. So we'll go to the job definition, and then we have a timer job called here as taxonomy groups replication. So this timer jobs runs only one time a day, but we can run it manually. So yeah, we have this taxonomy groups replication here. So it is running only daily at 1 a.m. So now that, just to show you again, so this is SharePoint Server 2019 on premises. If I again go back to service application of manage metadata, so here we just have only these three terms available, and just now that we have added this demo as the fourth term. So we will try by running this job now. Let's see the job if it is appearing here. So once that job is finished executing its functionality, we should have that term copied here. So okay, so this job is running right now, taxonomy group replication. Let it run. It is still running. Okay. Okay, it is taking some time. All right. Okay, it is taking more time. Okay, so it is done. Let's go to the job history and see if it was successful or it is failed. So okay, so good that it is successful. So again, if I go back to SharePoint Server 2019 and refresh this page, so okay, so here we have that demo which was created in Office 365. So this way we can synchronize even the term sets as well as the content type hub. So we can create a content types in Office 365, and we can replicate all those content types to SharePoint Server 2019. So this gives us kind of an seamless experience that we are kind of playing with same type of data, even it is on premise or even it is in the Office 365. So that way we can use all these beautiful features of hybrid. So yeah, Miss, I guess that was all from this webinar. So we are open to the Q&As if there are any. So for example, again in the future, if you have any questions related to hybrid, so just let me know on any of this handler. I will try to resolve it. Yeah. Okay. All right. So okay. So thanks all for joining this on a Saturday evening. Okay. I really appreciate all of your time. Okay. So thank you and see you soon.